The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
Day by day, we're making America affordable again. It's going to be affordable again at a really record pace.
President Trump addressing business leaders today, touting his economic accomplishments, while simultaneously his signature economic policy, tariffs, are challenged in the Supreme Court.
It's not enough to diagnose the crisis in working class Americans' lives. You have to deliver on addressing that crisis.
A clashing message on the economy from the blue wave that swept the country with election victories Tuesday night. How lawmakers are responding to a Democratic socialist becoming the Big Apple's mayor-elect and the future of the Democratic Party. And the change coming to flights at 40 major airports on Friday as the longest government shutdown in history continues to strain air traffic controllers. Good evening, I'm Taylor Murray. Welcome to the National News Desk, America's News Now. It's wheels down for Air Force One as the president returns to the White House this evening following a visit to Florida. The president speaking at a business forum in Miami on the anniversary of his re-election to a second term. President Trump ran in 2024 on making things more affordable, which today he says he's accomplished.
Since March, the price of eggs is down 85%. Energy prices are down, interest rates are down, despite the fact that we have a total nincompoop at the Federal Reserve. It was recommended by one of my real great people, who I'd never spoke to again. And the cost of the typical new mortgage is down by nearly $3,000 a year.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court will decide if President Trump's tariffs to address fentanyl and trade deficits are constitutional. Lower courts have ruled they are not. During arguments today, most of the justices sounded skeptical. The National News Desk, Audra El-Nashar, reports.
The future of President Trump's tariffs at the center of his economic agenda is now in the hands of the Supreme Court in a case Trump says is literally life or death for our country. President Trump is turning to a 1977 law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA, to claim he has the power to impose tariffs unilaterally, even though IEPA does not mention tariffs, and the Constitution says this power belongs to Congress. By declaring the fentanyl crisis and trade deficits emergencies, the Trump administration argues because IEPA says the president can regulate importations, that includes tariffs, something no president has done before.
We don't contend that what's being exercised here is the power to tax. It's the power to regulate foreign commerce. These are regulatory tariffs. They are not revenue-raising tariffs.
The liberal and some conservative justices skeptical of the administration's claim that their tariffs are not taxes.
And you want to say tariffs are not taxes, but that's exactly what they are. They're generating money from American citizens.
The vehicle is imposition of taxes on Americans, and that has always been the core power of Congress.
It's the argument of the small businesses and Democratic states suing to undo the tariffs.
It comes down to common sense. It's simply implausible that in enacting IEPA, Congress handed the president the power to overhaul the entire tariff system and the American economy in the process.
Justices Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, Trump appointees, challenging the argument that IEPA does not leave the door open for tariffs.
The statute says by means of licenses or otherwise.
Right.
Regulate.
It's only a means, and we looked at the history.
Yeah, it's a means.
Yeah.
Why isn't tariffs a permissible means on the statute?
Why would a rational Congress say, yeah, we're going to give the president the power to shut down trade, but can't do a 1% tariff?
Now, the court put this case on an expedited track, so we may get a ruling in as soon as a month or two.
And a lot was made of the revenue these tariffs are producing. So how did that shape each side's argument?
Right, because, a core question today was, are Trump's tariffs considered taxes? So revenue is a huge part of that. And we hear President Trump boast all the time about the billions and billions of dollars the tariffs are generating for the Treasury. We also know that American consumers are bearing about 55% of the cost, according to Goldman Sachs. Now, in court, the administration argues that these tariffs, as you heard, are regulatory tariffs meant to address issues not created for the primary purpose of generating revenue. They say that's just an incidental part of all of this. So they say that doesn't technically violate the separation of powers here. Of course, the plaintiffs say that that's nonsense and that the proof is in the pudding that the tariffs both are and function as taxes on imports.
All right. In Washington, D.C., Audra El-Nashar, thank you. It is day 36 of the record-setting federal government shutdown, and the Senate is not holding any votes to fund federal agencies today. There is, however, growing optimism in the Senate that the stalemate could be alleviated possibly as soon as the end of the week. One idea is to guarantee a vote on extending tax credits that are set to expire. But some on the left, like independent socialist Bernie Sanders, who caucuses, of course, with the Democrats, want to keep the pressure on Republicans with more concessions.
What do you think the vote means? It's a vote. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. It goes nowhere. What is important is that we protect the health care of the American people. We prevent 20 million people seeing a doubling or tripling of their health care costs, 15 million people being thrown off health care. That's what the issue, not a vote.
Meanwhile, President Trump met with Senate Republicans for breakfast this morning and said there is one surefire way to immediately end the shutdown and accomplish more with his agenda, and that is to change the rules in the Senate.
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. And if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be in bad shape. We won't pass any legislation. We have to get the country going. We will pass legislation at levels you've never seen before, and it'll be impossible to beat us. By the way, if they do, they're going to do it anyway, and they are going to immediately do the filibuster.
And some fallout from the shutdown just announced by the Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. The FAA will reduce flight capacity by 10% at 40 airports across the U.S. as this shutdown continues to strain the air traffic control system. Now, the reduction goes into effect Friday morning, but we don't know yet which airports are involved. We'll keep you updated as we learn that information. Well, 2 New Jersey men have been arrested in connection to the apparent ISIS-style terror plot. This was in Michigan last week. Identified as Thomas Khan Jimenez Gusel and Milo Seiderat. Both are just 19 years old. Seiderat, the son of an Iranian-American poet, Roger Seiderat, was arrested today at his father's home in Montclair. Jimenez Gusel was taken into custody yesterday at Liberty International Airport before getting on a plane to Turkey. Law enforcement says the two expressed interest in traveling to Syria to train with the Islamic State. Well, here's a view of the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport today, which is now back open for operations following last night's fiery UPS plane crash. The National Transportation Safety Board says the cargo plane's left wing caught fire and an engine fell off just before it crashed and exploded after takeoff. 2 businesses were directly impacted by the crash, but the airport barely missed a local bar and a large Ford plant. The billowing fire required 18 fire departments just to contain, and the NTSB said this afternoon that they recovered the plane's black boxes, which have been sent to a lab to collect the data. 11 fatalities have been confirmed, and more than a dozen people were injured.
But I'm now fairly confident that that number will grow by at least 1. We hope it doesn't grow by too many more.
It could take a year for for the final report that will determine the cause of this crash and recommend changes to prevent a tragedy like this in the future. The National News Desk, Katie Armrain, has more.
The search continues with so many unaccounted for, and authorities beginning to piece together how this happened. UPS Flight 2976 took off from the Louisville Airport's west runway Tuesday evening at 5:15, its engine catching fire and crashing into nearby businesses. Kyla Kennedy was serving customers at Stooge's Bar and Grill. It was almost hit.
I had turned around and looked outside and to hand the beer to my customer, and at that moment I seen a plane in flames going down, and in panic, fight or flight, I turned around, ran down the bar, and screamed to everyone that a plane was crashing.
Kennedy ran from the bar, afraid debris was headed her way.
It was just the shaking as the plane crashed. Just the heat immediately that all of us felt was so terrifying.
A UPS employee said off camera they had never seen anything like it. NTSB investigators are scouring the large debris fields. A spokesperson for the board says they believe the engine separated from the plane, but still don't know how this happened.
After being cleared for takeoff, a large plume of fire in the area of the left wing occurred during the takeoff roll. The plane lifted off and gained enough altitude to clear the fence at the end of runway 17R. Shortly after clearing that fence, it made impact with structures and the terrain off of the airport property. And we have viewed airport CCTV security coverage, which shows the left engine detaching from the wing during the takeoff roll.
Today, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear declared a state of emergency and says while it's a tragedy, he's fortunate it wasn't more devastating. All of Louisville is hurting.
Today, the NTSB was asked if the government shutdown had impacted critical staffing at the airport and if it would slow the investigation into the crash. The answer to both of those questions was no. Reporting in Louisville, I'm Katie Amber.
Yeah, Katie, just a devastating situation there. Do we know what airport traffic is currently like there?
Yeah, as of right now, the UPS operations are proceeding as usual at the airport. I've seen several UPS flights landing and taking off from the airport today. Now, as for passenger planes, they are flying again, but according to the airport's website, there is a major backlog of delayed flights from last night, and all runways for passenger planes are now operational.
In Louisville, Katie M. Ryan, thank you. Well, a civil trial connected to the 2019 fatal Boeing crash in Ethiopia is underway. Opening statements beginning today. All 157 people on board died in the 737 MAX jetliner crash. Boeing accepted responsibility and settled most of the wrongful death lawsuits from the victims' families. Jurors were chosen yesterday in the 2 remaining cases, and they'll decide how much Boeing should pay the families of those 2 victims. Right now, a federal judge is considering arguments she heard today in a lawsuit accusing ICE agents of using excessive force at the Broadview ICE facility outside Chicago. Witnesses describe people being hit with tear gas, rubber bullets, and other objects during protest. A DOJ lawyer, however, claimed many protesters had threatened to kill law enforcement officers and threw objects at them. And just in, another federal judge is ordering changes at that same immigration facility. The judge heard arguments yesterday over a class action lawsuit claiming the conditions there inside are inhumane. The judge said officials must give detainees things like clean bedding mats and medical necessities. A federal judge is ordering prosecutors in the criminal case against former FBI Director James Comey to give defense lawyers grand jury documents and other evidence that investigators found. The deadline is tomorrow. Comey's lawyers had argued they were at a disadvantage because they did not have access, they say, to certain information. Comey pleaded not guilty to lying to Congress. Well, coming up, what Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani's victory in New York City last night might mean for the future of the Democratic Party. Plus, the massive layoffs coming to the electric vehicle industry and the reasons behind them. Also on the way, the new treatment for a rare mitochondrial disease that's giving hope to a family in South Carolina. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I continue to be interested in having a conversation with President Trump on the ways in which we could work together to serve New Yorkers.
Speaking to New Yorkers today, the first Muslim mayor-elect in New York City history, Zohran Mamdani, a self-proclaimed democratic socialist. His official swearing-in ceremony is January 1st, 2026. Meanwhile, the National Republican Congressional Committee is launching an ad blitz tying Democrats to Mamdani. In a press release, the NRCC says the campaign will roll out across 49 battleground districts. The ad starts by saying a radical left earthquake just hit America and ends saying this is the future House Democrats want. Stop socialism, stop Democrats. The spokesman for the NRCC also released a statement following Mamdani's victory. It reads in part, quote, "The Democratic Party has surrendered to radical socialist Zohran Mamdani and the far left mob who are now running the show. They've proudly embraced defunding the police, abolishing ICE, taxing hardworking Americans to death, and replacing common sense with chaos." Now, Mamdani's win highlights the differences between the Democratic Party. As the National News Desk Matt Gelko reports, the question now is which path does the party take?
The next mayor of New York City, Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani, vowed to deliver on left-wing affordability promises like raising taxes on the wealthy to pay for free transportation, rent stabilization, and cheap childcare in the city.
I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
Mamdani's unapologetic socialist views have already made him a target of President Trump. The president has repeatedly threatened to defund New York City if Mamdani won.
The decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense.
Republicans are eager to make Mamdani and socialism the new Democratic brand, and they're already launching ads.
Zohran Mamdani is without a doubt the biggest win for socialism in the history of the country, and it is the biggest loss for the American people.
Your city could be next. Stop socialism, stop Democrats.
In New Jersey and Virginia, two very different Democrats than Mamdani convincingly won governorships. Moderates Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey and Abigail Spanberger in Virginia also ran on cost of living issues while staying closer to the center. The affordability message seems to be the new way for Democrats, but the party might have a problem picking between Democratic socialist positions or the views of the establishment heading into the 2026 midterms.
No great secret. Of course there's an establishment, and of course there's a division within the Democratic Party.
The issue that he has stressed is being stressed by Democrats across the country, from one end of America to the other, the high costs that the Trump administration is imposing on us.
When New Yorkers were asked in exit polling if they considered themselves Democratic socialists, 69% said no, including almost 40% who voted for Mamdani. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
In other news now, massive layoffs are set to hit the EV industry in the coming months, with Americans choosing gas-fueled cars and only a small percentage who would even purchase an EV. Some of the largest layoffs are from General Motors. GM is set to lay off 1,200 workers from its Detroit plant and another 550 from its Ultium Cells plant in Ohio. Hundreds are also being temporarily laid off at another factory in Ohio and one in Tennessee. The body of the final American held hostage in Gaza is now back in Israel. Itay Chen has been positively identified by Israel's National Forensic Laboratory as the body handed over yesterday. Chen was killed back on October 7, 2023, when he was just 19 years old, and then he was taken to Gaza to be held for ransom. Hamas also handed over another body today, yet to be identified. There are still 6 remaining deceased hostages in Gaza. Hamas says they are looking for their remains. Exposure to wildfire smoke significantly increases the risk of preterm birth, particularly in western United States. That's according to a new University of Washington study that found a strong link between wildfire smoke, pollution exposure, and higher chances of preterm delivery. This was especially true for the second trimester and late pregnancy. Well, over 320,000 plug-in hybrid Jeep Wrangler and Grand Cherokee SUVs are being recalled over a battery issue that can lead to a fire. Yeah, it's pretty serious. There have been at least 19 fires originating from the battery pack, as well as one potentially related injury. Officials are working on a fix. Until then, owners should park the vehicles outside and not charge them until they're repaired. A warning about cancer scams spreading on social media, from fake GoFundMe pages to scam charities. Bad actors are posing as cancer patients. The National News Desk, Angela Brown, explains.
Now 13, Natalie Rodriguez is ready to get back to what she loves.
I really like acting and golf.
Cancer put that on hold.
We found out that I had acute lymphoblastic leukemia B cell.
The last few months, a roller coaster, painful treatments, sick days, losing her hair. But Natalie kept going, even making bracelets for other kids with cancer.
My fingers were kind of numb at the tips because I was getting hard chemo, but I was still making bracelets.
During her treatment, the family created the Natalie Strong Foundation, a support system for children and families battling leukemia, complete with a website and her pictures. They say someone stole some of those pictures, created a GoFundMe page claiming Natalie died.
Saying that she had passed, and because of that, we needed, as a family, someone pretending to be us. We needed donations for her funeral expenses.
Experts say these crimes are much easier to carry out than creating an entire fake charity, and the crooks are even harder to catch, according to cybersecurity expert Lisa Garber.
They can run this scam on many different platforms at the same time and quickly take them down as soon as they get the cash they need.
The website featuring Natalie's pictures disappeared, but Natalie's giving is still going strong.
I do always buy blankets, though. That's the one thing that I buy for everyone, because blankets is the one thing that everyone loves for chemo, because it keeps you cozy and comfy. And it's comforting.
Well, the AARP is reporting in 2023 there were 10,000 reports of charitable solicitation fraud in the U.S., resulting in over $20 million lost. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Coming up, the unique way a retired couple in Rhode Island is helping feed people in their community. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter to you. We are taking the pulse of America, and we start in South Carolina.
Thymidine kinase 2 deficiency, or 2K2D, is a rare, progressive, and life-threatening disorder that causes severe muscle weakness. 6-year-old Jeremiah was diagnosed when he was just 8 months old. The disease makes it difficult for him to walk, eat, and even breathe on his own. But this week, for the first time, there's new hope. On Monday, a biopharmaceutical company announced FDA approval of Kyevi, a powdered medication designed to treat both adults and children who develop symptoms before the age of 12.
I honestly just cried. It was one of those moments where I didn't quite have the words.
Within the last few years, the Boy Scouts have built us
a knowledge and entertainment shack for books and CDs and DVDs. And we also now have this wellness shack for health and beauty aids, that kind of stuff.
All of this is now a part of the Manville Share Shack.
Some days there might not be much, other days we've had a big donation and there's a lot.
It's a hub to help the community and beyond with basics like food and hygiene products.
A lot of the people that come here have a very difficult time making ends meet.
The stands are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No paperwork, no questions asked.
Oh, people are really grateful. Really very grateful.
The South Carolina Shrimpers Association sued more than 40 restaurants this summer, accusing them of selling imported shrimp as local. A study found nearly 90% of tested restaurants were mislabeling. But Judge Richard Gergel threw out the case, saying the association didn't have the standing to sue. Shrimpers said they knew this was possible, but it still hurts.
We're disappointed in the outcome of the case, but what it's really gone to show is that there's a reason, that there's a distinct difference and why the consumer deserves the right to know the difference between imported and domestic wild-caught shrimp.
The Shrimpers Association hasn't announced any immediate plan to appeal, but say this isn't the end of the Shrimpgate saga.
Coming up, the most popular baby names of 2025. We've got the list, and we'll fill you in right after this. List of the most popular baby names of 2025 is out. According to Baby Center, the top girl's name is Olivia and the top boy's name is Noah. Those are the same as last year's. Now, the second most popular names are Amelia and Liam, also the same as last year. But two new girls' names joined the top 10, Eliana and Aurora. For boys, Luca is back in the top 10 after falling off last year. Those are some good names. And that's all the time we have for this edition of the National News Desk. We invite you to join us again this evening. I'm Taylor Murray. Thanks for watching.